what that one is.
Now
The tall thimbleweed.
Hi everyone! Just wanted to welcome you to Arbor Day 2022. We're here to celebrate Somerville's trees. We have about 14,000 publicly owned trees in the city. So we have lots of fun things to do. You guys are all getting good information from our group. But I did want to introduce our wonderful mayor, Mayor Katjana Ballantyne, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice being here, and I'm happy that you're here with us to celebrate Arbor Day in Somerville. The National Arbor Day is recognized in April each year, but many states and cities hold their own ceremony independently. Somerville chose to celebrate now so it coincides with the spring tree planting season, and today in this park we have 6 new additions to welcome. Celebrating Arbor Day each year is an opportunity to appreciate the local trees and the role they play in our city, as well as the people who work to support our urban forest each day. In Somerville, that includes certainly the councilor that represents this ward, Councilor Davis, many of my colleagues on the City Council, as well as our dedicated public space and urban forestry staff, Vanessa Boukili and Malik Drayton. And our Urban Forestry Committee co-chair Chris Strawn, Tori Antonino, Leah Grossman, Connor Guaradelli, Jennifer Clifford, Amy Myrtle, Murphy Langenvin, and Brett Miller. And I apologize if I mispronounced any of your names. In an urban environment like ours, trees are an invaluable resource, vital to sustaining and improving our public health, our infrastructure, and our collective quality of life. There's seemingly no facet in our livelihood that isn't improved by trees, from environmental benefits like cooling and cleaning our air, providing habitat for our wildlife and pollinators, cleaning water, and mitigating flooding, to proven social benefits like reduced crime, safer streets, more successful business districts, and more connected communities. Because of these benefits, we are fully committed to supporting and advancing our public space and urban forestry program in Somerville. Right now, the city aims to plant 350 trees per year. That's nearly a tree a day, and we will continue to approach our work with the equity at the forefront as we expand the tree canopy in low and moderate income neighborhoods. We are also working on building our capacity to take care of the trees that are already in the landscape, with recently established tree maintenance programs tailored to the specific needs of young trees, park trees, and newly planted trees. Our new full-time tree warden, Breck Miller in DPW, will expand our ability to care for our urban forest. In the spirit of Arbor Day, we come together today to commit to building a brighter and greener tomorrow. Unlike many holidays which commemorate an event from the past, Arbor Day represents the hope for the future. Each new planting is a deliberate and tangible act. Each new planting represents the power we have to create a better world. That's a valuable reminder today and every day. So thank you again for organizing this event and for joining me here today. Next, I'd like to introduce the co-chair of the Urban Forestry Committee, Chris Strawn.
Thank you so much, Mayor Ballantyne. This is the second year we've done this with the committee supporting the city staff in an Arbor Day celebration. And it was a complete surprise to me last year when the committee and the staff asked me to read a poem. And it has happened again. And so thank you, Malik, for selecting a poem. I am honored, flattered, and slightly confused. And that has characterize just briefly the delight of watching this program grow over the past several years. 5 years ago, we didn't have an urban forestry committee. 5 years ago, there was just Dr. Boukili. And now here we are. And so in celebration of that, I have a tree perspective by Lord C. Taylor in 2011. I've seen you in this barren space, standing majestically tall. I've gazed upon your elegance from winter through to fall. I thought of you here all alone, and these questions rose in me. Are you sad? Do you have a friend? Please tell me, lonely tree. Lonely? I cannot say that I am. It seems I heard it say, for I have lots of company that visit night and day. Above I have the puffy clouds, the warm sun shining bright. My arms caress the songbirds when they're resting from their flight. In darkness, I'm never alone, for so many stars appear, and cradled high in the sky, the golden moon is near. I have the wise old hoot owl, night critters that stop by, the playful fish in the pond, the sound of a lone wolf's cry. Music plays through my limbs when tickled by the breeze, crickets and jar flies serenade, nature's song in melodious ease. I said, my friend, you're right, these things I know are true. I'm glad I came to this spot and spent this time with you. Thanks for this tree perspective your words have given me. How foolish I was to assume you were just a lonely tree.
Thank you so much. I'm the Senior Urban Forestry Planner with the Public Space and Urban Forestry Division. So I am in charge of getting these 350 trees planted in the city every year. And as the mayor mentioned, we had just planted 6. We were going to plant them on Arbor Day when it was going to be last week. So they have been in the ground now about a week, but I thought we could welcome these new trees to the park. And I can tell you a little bit about what we look at when we go check and see if a tree was planted properly. So here in the park, we have these nice open spaces, a lot of oaks in the park already, where there's a lot of room available. We like to plant big trees that are going to get large and that are native to the area, because I know that they will do well in this type of circumstance. So we planted white oaks and scarlet oaks, and there's also a sweet gum. See if you can find it later. This here is a white oak. You can tell an oak, usually most oaks have these lobed leaves, and white oaks have rounded leaf edges. Red oaks have pointier tips on the edges of the lobes. So this is a white oak here. White oaks are really special. I can never plant them in the streets. They just get way too big and they're pretty sensitive to disturbance. So when I can plant white oaks in parks, I get really excited. They also have lots of historical use with Native Americans, and they provide a lot of habitat for wildlife. So oaks are generally pretty amazing, and white oaks are particularly special. So after every tree is planted, my colleague Malik or I go and check to see if it was planted well. So first we just take a look at the tree. It looks like it's healthy, lots of green leaves, so that's good. It's got a nice straight trunk. That's one thing we look for when we're picking out the trees in the nursery. Another thing that we look for is to see if the tree was planted at the right height. So you want to make sure that the tree, you can see the root flare of the tree. So you don't want it to be looking like a telephone pole in the ground. You want to make sure that you can basically see some structural roots coming out of the very top of the ground there. So this was planted at a proper height. It's great. If it's not planted at the proper height, or I can't see the root flare, then I might scrape a little bit of the soil back to see if it was just maybe covered a little bit. Another thing we do is measure the diameter of the tree so we can put it into our inventory. So I have a couple of different tools for that. This is a diameter measuring tape. This nice small one is what I use for these newly planted trees, and then I have a bigger one for our big trees when we go look at other trees in the landscape. So we will measure the diameter of this guy. It's 1.4 inches in diameter, so that's about what we expect. Most of our trees are 1 to 2 inches in diameter when they're planted. It's important to plant a tree that's still pretty small because the roots get really disturbed when it's being moved, and planting a smaller tree means the roots are able to recover faster. We also like to plant generally not smaller than this because the branching is still pretty high, so especially on sidewalks you won't, poke your eyeball out as you're walking by. So that's basically what we look at. Another important thing that I wanted to tell you about, though, is mulching. I wish we could spread it out, but they had to do it when they planted the tree. Mulch is really important to help keep the moisture levels in the soil, and also helps with keeping the soil from getting too compacted. If it gets really compacted, then the roots can't get through very easily. It's like trying to get through cement. So the mulch helps keep the soil healthy and moist, but you don't want to mulch too much. Basically a 1 to 3 inch layer is what you're looking for, and you don't want any mulch or dirt to touch the trunk of the tree. If it does, then roots can grow in circles around the trunk, and eventually as those roots grow and the trunk grows, they sort of compete and it'll strangle itself and limit the water going to the top of the trunk. So this is great. There's a nice mulch ring around here to keep the mowers from getting too close. It looks like a pretty thin layer, but not too thin, and it's not touching the trunk. So this looks great. And if you guys see any volcano mulches, which is an old landscaping practice that for some reason will not go away, if you see mulch, up to the top of the trunk and it looks like a volcano, please scrape that back, expose the trunk. It's very good for the tree. We have an Adopt a Tree program. I don't know how many of you have joined it, at least a couple of you, but you might see tags hanging on trees. They usually are put on 1 or 2 seasons after the tree is planted. We have some examples on the table, but you can opt to adopt a tree. Crystal helped get these great adoption certificates made, so you can have an official certificate showing that you adopted the tree. It's in, I believe, 8 different languages, so very trying to make sure everyone feels included and is welcome to adopt a tree. And that the adoption mostly involves keeping an eye on the tree and watering it regularly. Trees need at least 20 gallons of water every week for the first few years after they're planted. We do have our contractors watering the trees, but more water is always good. If you ever need to know the species, the tag's fallen off, you can take a picture of the leaf and send it to me, or the location, and I can probably tell you. You can email trees@somervillema.gov. Keep it easy. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for coming. Happy Arbor Day. Thank you. Thank you.